Lily, an 8-year-old girl with a bright smile and a curious heart, skipped down the sidewalk on her way home from the park. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden light over everything. The air was crisp, the kind of air that hinted at the end of summer, but the scent of freshly cut grass still lingered. Birds chirped lazily from the trees above, and Lily's sneakers made a rhythmic tapping sound against the pavement as she walked. She was enjoying the peace of the neighborhood, lost in her thoughts when something strange caught her eye. At first, it seemed like just another stray piece of trash stuck in the wind, but then she realized it was moving. Near the edge of the alleyway between two old brick buildings, a scruffy dog was struggling with something caught under its paw. Its coat was matted and dirty, and it looked like it hadn't had a proper meal in days. But what struck Lily most was the way the dog was tugging at something, almost like it was trying to free itself from something. Intrigued, she slowed her pace and squinted. The dog's movements seemed frantic, and Lily could tell it was frustrated. Its tail hung low, and it let out a soft whimper with each tug. As she drew closer, she saw what the dog was tangled in: a plastic bag. The bag was twisted tightly around the dog's paw, and it looked as though it had gotten caught in the rough pavement. The dog would pull at the bag, then back away, trying to shake it off, but it couldn't. Lily's heart softened. She had always been a lover of animals, her room cluttered with stuffed animals and pictures of pets she had in the past. Seeing the dog in distress made her want to help. Without a second thought, she dropped her backpack by the sidewalk and crouched down, calling out softly to the dog, "Hey there, little guy." "It's okay." The dog froze for a moment, its eyes wide with wariness. It took a hesitant step back, unsure of Lily's intentions. She stayed very still, letting her voice remain calm and gentle. "I'm not going to hurt you," she whispered, trying to reassure it. The dog's ears perked up slightly, and it seemed to relax a little, its tail twitching cautiously. Lily smiled, a sense of relief washing over her. She reached out her hand slowly, keeping her movements deliberate and gentle. The dog eyed her cautiously, but allowed her to get closer. As she knelt beside it, Lily could see the depth of its weariness. The dog was thin, its ribs visible beneath its fur, and it seemed like it had been wandering for a while. Her heart tightened at the sight, but there was something else, something in the dog's eyes. It wasn't just fear, there was a quiet desperation there too, as if it knew it needed help but didn't know who to trust. With a deep breath, Lily carefully reached down and began working at the bag, gently trying to untangle it from the dog's paw. The dog let out a quiet sigh, and with each tug, it seemed to grow calmer. Lily spoke softly, more to herself than to the dog. "Just a little more. I'll get you out of this, I promise." The plastic bag finally loosened, and Lily watched as the dog took a cautious step forward, testing its paw. It was free. The dog looked at her with a glimmer of something: relief, gratitude, or perhaps both, and Lily couldn't help but smile. She had helped the dog, but little did she know, the adventure was just beginning. After the dog was freed from the plastic bag, it didn't run away. Instead, it stood there for a moment, as if unsure of what to do next. Its eyes, once full of fear and confusion, now held a glimmer of something softer: trust, maybe. The dog took a few tentative steps toward Lily, still cautious, but not as wary as before. Lily smiled and reached her hand out, careful not to startle it. "Are you okay?" she whispered, her voice soft and reassuring. The dog's tail twitched slightly but didn't whack. It lowered its head, its fur matted and tangled, but there was something about the way it looked at Lily that made her feel like she had done more than just untangle a paw. There was a silent acknowledgement between them, as if the dog understood she was the one who had helped it. Lily's heart swelled with a mix of compassion and curiosity. She had always been a bit of a dreamer, often imagining herself helping animals and making the world a better place for them. This moment, though, felt real. It wasn't just a daydream. The dog was right here in front of her, and it had allowed her to help. She crouched down again, this time lowering herself to the dog's level, so she wouldn't seem so big and intimidating. Her fingers gently brushed through the dog's fur, trying to comfort it. The dog stiffened at first, but didn't pull away. Lily continued to speak softly, coaxing it. You must be so tired, huh? You look like you've been through a lot. The dog's eyes seemed to soften at her words, and it sat down on its haunches, letting out a quiet sigh. Lily watched in awe, realizing how fragile the dog seemed. Its fur was rough and unkempt, and it looked like it hadn't eaten in days. Yet, despite everything, the dog was still here, still hanging on. As she gently ran her hand along its back, the dog leaned into her touch, just a little. It was as if it was asking for help but didn't know how to ask. The connection between them deepened, not in words, but in the shared understanding that something had just changed. Lily felt an overwhelming need to take care of this dog, to make sure it was safe and comfortable. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world seemed to quiet around them, as if the busy street, the sounds of cars passing, and the distant chatter of people all faded away. It was just Lily and the dog in that small alley, sharing a bond that was beyond words. Lily could feel her heart racing, not from fear, but from the sense of purpose that had suddenly filled her. The dog stood up, its paws shifting on the ground, as if considering its next move. It took one step forward, then another, closing the distance between them. Lily held her breath, waiting. When the dog finally nudged her hand with its nose, she knew that they had crossed the threshold. The dog had accepted her. And in that moment, Lily understood something deep inside herself. This was more than just a chance encounter. It was the beginning of something important. Lily smiled as the dog looked up at her, its eyes soft but full of gratitude. It wasn't just a stray anymore. It was her responsibility now, and she wasn't about to walk away. As the dog nudged Lily's hand, she couldn't help but feel a wave of warmth flood through her. She had never been one to shy away from helping animals, but this moment felt different. There was a deeper connection now, something unspoken, something that bound her to this dog. Lily stood up slowly, still keeping her hand near the dog's fur. It followed her movements, staying close, and for the first time since she had encountered it, the dog seemed more relaxed, as if it trusted her. But as Lily turned to head home, ready to take the dog with her, she noticed something strange. Beneath the dog's paws, tangled in the mess of plastic, there was something else. The dog shifted slightly, and as it moved, Lily's eyes widened in shock. The corner of a small, crumpled object peeked out from under the dog's body, a faint flutter of white. Curious, Lily crouched down again, her heart beating faster as she gently nudged the dog aside. The dog didn't protest. Instead, it watched her with an almost resigned gaze, as if it knew the mystery had to be solved. Lily's fingers carefully unwrapped the plastic bag, and as she pulled it back, her breath caught in her throat. Inside the bag, nestled between the folds of the plastic, was a tiny kitten. It couldn't have been more than a few weeks old, its small body curled into a tight ball. The kitten's fur was soft, but it looked frail and thin, its tiny chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Its eyes were barely open, but even in its state of weakness, the kitten gave a faint mew of distress, its voice barely audible. Lily's heart ached. She had been so focused on helping the dog that she hadn't even noticed the kitten until now. The dog, however, seemed to be watching the kitten with a mixture of concern and care. Lily realized in that moment that the dog hadn't just been tangled in the plastic bag, it had been trying to protect the kitten. It was as if the dog had found this tiny, helpless creature and had been doing everything in its power to keep it safe, even if it meant struggling with a plastic bag that had trapped them both. The dog nudged the kitten gently with its nose, as though urging it to wake up or get up. Lily's heart swelled with empathy. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The bond between the two animals was undeniable. They weren't just a stray dog and a lost kitten. They were survivors, fighters who had found each other in the most unlikely of circumstances. Lily's hands trembled slightly as she carefully scooped the kitten into her arms, cradling it gently. Its small, fragile body fit perfectly into her hands, and she could feel its tiny heartbeat fluttering against her palm. She looked at the dog, who was now sitting by her side, watching the kitten with an intense, unwavering focus. "I'm going to take care of both of you," Lily whispered, her voice filled with determination. The dog wagged its tail slightly, and the kitten, still weak, let out another quiet mew. Livy's heart melted as she realized that, for some reason, the universe had brought her to this very spot to save these two helpless creatures, and she wasn't about to let them down. With the kitten now safe in her arms, Lily stood up again, glancing at the dog. She could see the loyalty in its eyes, the bond between them already forming. There was no question now. She would take them both home, keep them safe, and give them the love they deserved. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, one she was ready to embrace with open arms. As Lily stood there, holding the tiny kitten in her arms, she could feel the weight of the moment settling around her. The dog, now more at ease, sat calmly beside her, its watchful eyes never leaving the kitten. She marveled at the strange yet beautiful bond between the two animals. Here was this scruffy dog, clearly worn down by its journey, yet it had taken on the responsibility of looking after such a small, fragile creature. It was a bond that couldn't be easily explained. It was simply there, existing in the space between them. Lily's thoughts swirled as she considered what to do next. She glanced down at the kitten in her arms, its little body trembling ever so slightly. The poor thing was so small, barely clinging to life. It needed warmth, comfort, and most of all, safety. And the dog, Max, she had already decided to call him, needed a chance to rest, to heal, and to trust again. With a soft sigh, Lily began walking toward her house. She spoke to Max in a gentle voice, trying to reassure him as she moved. "Come on, Max. Let's get you both home." Max rose to his feet, his eyes never leaving the kitten as they made their way down the sidewalk. Lily felt a deep sense of purpose settle within her. She had no idea where Max and the kitten had come from or why they were together. But it didn't matter. They were here now, and she was going to take care of them. The journey home was quiet, save for the occasional meal from the kitten, which made Lily's heart ache with concern. Max stayed by her side, occasionally glancing up at her with eyes that seemed filled with gratitude. Lily couldn't help but smile, feeling as though she had just made two new, very special friends. As they reached her house, Lily opened the front door carefully, ensuring that Max followed closely behind her. She quickly slipped inside, making sure the door was shut securely behind them. Her parents weren't home yet, so she had a little time to figure out what to do. She set the kitten down gently on the couch, wrapping it in a soft towel she found nearby. Max, meanwhile, trotted around the room, sniffing at the unfamiliar surroundings, but always keeping his eyes on the kitten. Lily ran to the kitchen, her heart racing with excitement and concern. She filled a small bowl with water and another with some food from the pantry. She brought them back to Max, who eagerly drank from the bowl, its ribs visible but its hunger clearly insatiable. Lily couldn't help but feel a swell of affection for him. This dog who had been through so much was finally able to rest. She returned to the kitten, picking it up gently and placing it on her lap. She could feel the warmth of its tiny body, and as she stroked its soft fur, it let out a quiet purr, which made Lily's heart flutter. The kitten's eyes were still closed, but the faintest signs of life were there, its chest rising and falling with each breath, its tiny body beginning to relax under Lily's touch. Max, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, padded over to Lily's side. He looked up at her with eyes filled with silent gratitude, his body leaning slightly against her as if seeking reassurance. Lily reached down and scratched behind his ears, her fingers gentle but firm. He responded with a soft whine, his tail wagging lazily. "You've done good, Max," Lily whispered, feeling a deep connection forming between her and the dog. "I'll take care of both of you. You don't have to worry anymore." Max wagged his tail again, and for the first time, Lily felt the weight of the world lighten just a little. She had no idea how long the dog and kitten had been on their own or how they had ended up in that alley. But in that moment, she knew one thing for sure. This was her responsibility now. And she would do everything in her power to help them heal, to give them a life full of love and care. As she settled down on the couch, Max laying beside her and the kitten curled up in her lap, Lily realized something she hadn't quite understood before. It wasn't just about saving animals or helping them when they were in need. It was about the bond that formed between them. She wasn't just helping them, they were helping her too, teaching her about loyalty, compassion, and the true meaning of family. The journey had only just begun, and Lily was ready for whatever came next. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Lily's parents were surprised to find Max and the kitten at home when they returned, but after hearing Lily's story, they understood why she had brought them in. Despite their initial concern, her parents agreed that they would help care for both animals. Lily promised them she would be responsible, and after seeing the bond that was already forming between her, Max, and the kitten, her parents couldn't help but smile at the unexpected turn of events. Max, though tired and thin, slowly regained his energy. He was surprisingly gentle, especially with the kitten, whom Lily had named Whiskers because of the way its tiny whiskers twitched whenever it woke up. Max would stay by Whiskers' side, lying next to the little kitten as it slept, as if guarding it. Lily marveled at the way the two seemed to fit together so perfectly, as if their bond had been predestined, written in the stars long before she had stumbled upon them that day. Each morning, Lily would feed both animals, making sure they had enough to eat. She had found some soft kitten food for Whiskers, while Max was content with the regular dog food Lily's parents had. Max would eat quickly, then sit near Whiskers, his head low and eyes soft, as though making sure the kitten was okay. It was clear that the dog had taken on the role of protector, something Lily admired more than she could explain. Whiskers, for its part, was recovering quickly. Though it was still small and fragile, it had begun to show signs of life that Lily hadn't expected so soon. It would scamper around the house, stumbling occasionally on its tiny legs, but always with Max close behind, tail wagging. Lily would laugh at the way Max would nudge the kitten back into the room when it wandered too far. It was almost as if he was saying, "Stay close, little one." Lily couldn't help but be fascinated by the way the two animals worked together. Max had clearly taken on the role of a protector, but the kitten, despite its size, seemed to bring out a nurturing side in Max that Lily had never expected. The dog, once tired and seemingly resigned to wandering alone, now had a purpose, keeping Whiskers safe. It was a role Max seemed to relish, even though he was still recovering from his own struggles. Every time the kitten tried to play, Max would be right there, his gentle nudge keeping it from going too far or getting hurt. One morning, as Lily sat on the porch with Max and Whiskers, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the strange turn of events that had brought them together. It had only been a few days since she had first found Max struggling in the alley, but already her world felt different. The once quiet house now echoed with the soft sounds of the animals. Whiskers mewing softly as it played with a toy, Max's deep, contented sighs as he napped by her side. Yet, even as Lily felt this joy, a sense of uncertainty lingered in the back of her mind. She still didn't know where Max had come from or why he had been wandering the streets. Whiskers, too, seemed to have no past, no owner who was looking for it. Lily's heart ached at the thought of someone abandoning them, but for now she pushed those worries aside. She had promised to take care of them, and that's exactly what she intended to do. As the days went on, the bond between Lily, Max, and Whiskers deepened. Lily spent hours playing with them, taking them for walks, and simply enjoying the comfort of their presence. Max's once wary eyes had softened, and he followed her everywhere, never straying too far. Whiskers, now healthy and full of energy, would scamper around her feet, tumbling and pouncing with joy. And as she sat there, surrounded by the quiet companionship of the two animals, Lily realized that this wasn't just about rescuing a dog and a kitten. It was about a family finding each other, even in the most unexpected of places. What had started as a chance encounter in an alley had become something much more profound. This was a journey they were all on together, and Lily couldn't wait to see where it would lead. A week had passed since Lily had found Max and Whiskers, and life had settled into a new, comforting routine. The once quiet house was now filled with the sounds of Whiskers' playful meows and Max's gentle footsteps as he followed Lily from room to room. She had taken to walking them around the neighborhood every morning, enjoying the fresh air and the company of her two new friends. People in the neighborhood had begun to notice the little trio, and most of them smiled as they passed by, impressed by the unlikely pair of the scruffy dog and tiny kitten. But despite the growing sense of normalcy, Lily still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Max was a mystery. Every time she tried to ask him about his past, where he had come from, why he was so thin, or how he had ended up in that alley. He would simply look at her with those soft, soulful eyes, as if he was trying to communicate something but couldn't quite put it into words. He never seemed to want to talk about it, and Lily respected that. But there was a nagging curiosity inside her, a desire to understand where he had come from and what had brought him into her life. One afternoon, as Lily was playing in the yard with Max and Whiskers, a sudden noise startled her. It was a low, rumbling growl, one that was deep and unfamiliar. Lily froze, looking around the yard, but she couldn't see anything at first. Max, however, went still. His body stiffened, his ears perked up, and he growled softly in response. Whiskers, sensing the change in atmosphere, immediately darted behind Lily's legs, its tiny body trembling slightly. Lily's heart skipped a beat. She had never heard Max growl like that before. He had always been so gentle, so protective of Whiskers. This was different. The growl deepened, and Lily could now hear the unmistakable sound of paws moving through the grass. Something or someone was approaching. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees at the edge of the yard, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. It was a man, tall and broad-shouldered. He wore a faded baseball cap and had a rugged, worn look about him. His eyes were sharp and alert as they scanned the yard, and Lily instinctively stepped back, holding Whiskers closer to her chest. Max, still on high alert, took a few protective steps forward, his growl louder now. The man's eyes landed on Max, and for a moment there was a tense silence. Max's body was taut with suspicion, his tail stiffened, but he didn't move any closer to the man. Lily's stomach turned. Something about the way the man looked at Max made her uneasy. "Is that your dog?" the man asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. He didn't seem angry, just curious. But there was something in his tone that made Lily's instincts flare. She looked at Max, who had now shifted his weight from one paw to the other, still watching the man closely. His growl had faded to a low rumble, and Lily could see his muscles tense, ready to protect her if needed. Lily took a cautious step forward, still holding Whiskers tightly. "Yes, he's mine," she said, her voice steady, though her heart was racing. "Who are you?" The man hesitated for a moment, then gave a half shrug. "I was just looking for my dog," he said, his eyes lingering on Max. "You see, he's been gone for a while now." "He looks like—" His voice trailed off and Lily's breath caught. The man seemed to recognize Max. There was no mistaking the look of recognition in his eyes. And then it hit Lily like a punch to the stomach. Could this man be Max's previous owner? Was Max the dog he had been searching for all along? Before she could ask any more questions, Max took a step forward, his eyes never leaving the man. It was as if Max knew what was coming and didn't want to let go of the life he had now. The dog let out a soft but firm bark, as if telling the man he wasn't welcome. Lily stood still, unsure of what to do. Was this man really Max's owner? And if he was, what did that mean for her, for Max, and for Whiskers? The man stood there, still and silent, watching Max with an unreadable expression on his face. His gaze shifted between Lily and the dog, lingering on Max's protective stance. It was clear that the connection between them was strong, far stronger than anything Lily had expected. Max was no longer the uncertain stray who had wandered into her life. He was her companion, her protector. And from the way he stood in front of her, it was obvious that Max didn't want to go back. Lily felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. She couldn't imagine life without Max and Whiskers now. They had become a family in every sense of the word. The thought of losing either of them, especially Max, made her stomach twist with dread. She glanced down at Max, who was now standing tall, his body firm and unmoving as he stared at the man with an unwavering gaze. Whiskers, sensing the tension, huddled closer to Lily, her tiny body trembling slightly. Lily swallowed hard before speaking. "Are you his owner?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. She had to know the truth, even though she already feared what it might be. The man shifted his weight from one foot to the other, scratching at the back of his neck. "Yeah," he said quietly, his tone laced with regret. I'm the one who left him behind. I didn't mean for it to happen, but things got complicated. Life got in the way. He paused, looking down at his boots. I know he's been through a lot, and I'm sorry for what I did. But I've been looking for him. I. He trailed off, his eyes finally meeting Lily's. I just want him back. Lily felt a wave of anger rise inside her, a rush of emotion she hadn't expected. How could anyone leave a dog like Max behind? How could someone not see the loyalty and love in his eyes, the bond they had shared? The thought of Max living in a situation where he wasn't cared for made her stomach churn. Max, sensing the change in Lily's demeanor, stepped closer to her, placing himself firmly between her and the man. His tail was stiff, his posture protective, and his eyes locked on the man with a quiet, almost warning gaze. Max wasn't about to let anyone take him away. Lily felt the weight of the decision ahead of her. I understand you're sorry, Lily said, her voice calm but resolute. But Max isn't just a dog. He's a part of my family now. He's been through so much already, and he's found a home with me and Whiskers. Her words were firm, each one carrying the weight of her conviction. I can't let you take him away. The man's face softened, but there was a flicker of sadness in his eyes. I get it, he said quietly. I really do. I can't change what I did. I've made mistakes, and I'm not asking for you to forgive me. I just thought he might still remember me. I thought maybe he'd come back. Lily shook her head, her heart aching at his words, but her resolve was unshakable. He might remember you, but that doesn't mean he's meant to be with you. He's not the same dog anymore. He's found a new life, and he's happy here. The man stared at Max for a long moment, and then he sighed deeply. He seemed to understand, though the sadness in his eyes was clear. I guess I don't have much choice in the matter, he said softly. I just wanted to try. Lily nodded, her chest tightening. She could see that the man wasn't a bad person, just someone who had made mistakes, someone who had let his dog slip away without realizing what he was losing. But that didn't change the fact that Max had chosen her now, and she would fight for him, just as he had fought to protect Whiskers. Thank you for understanding, Lily said quietly, her heart full of empathy for the man, but her loyalty to Max and Whiskers was unwavering. The man hesitated for a moment longer, looking down at the ground before meeting Lily's eyes one last time. Take care of him, he said softly. He deserves the best. With that, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the distance. Lily stood there for a few moments, watching him go, her mind spinning with the gravity of the encounter. Max remained by her side, his protective stance never wavering. When the man was gone, Max looked up at Lily, his eyes softening. Lily bent down to scratch behind his ears, her heart swelling with love for the dog who had come into her life when she least expected it. You're home now, Max, Lily whispered, her voice full of conviction. You're safe, and you're never going anywhere again. As Max leaned into her touch, his body relaxed, and Whiskers let out a soft purr from where she had been watching from a distance. Lily smiled, knowing that the decision she had made was the right one. They were a family. No matter what, no one could take that away. After the encounter with the man, life settled into an even deeper sense of peace for Lily, Max, and Whiskers. The events of that afternoon had shaken her, but in the days that followed, she realized just how solid her bond with Max was. There was no doubt in her mind. He was meant to be with her, and nothing would change that. Max had been through so much, and it was clear he had finally found a place where he belonged. He was no longer the skittish, street-worn dog she had found weeks ago. His coat, though still a bit scruffy, had started to shine, and the weight he had lost was slowly coming back. He had a new energy now, a lightness in his step that Lily had never seen before. Whiskers, too, was flourishing. The tiny kitten that had been so fragile and uncertain was now full of life, chasing after toy mice and pouncing at anything that moved. It was a joy to watch, and every time Lily saw Whiskers chasing Max's tail or playfully batting at his paws, her heart swelled with happiness. The pair were inseparable, the perfect companions for each other, and with Lily's unwavering care, they had both blossomed into healthy, happy animals. Lily had grown to love the rhythm of her days with them. Every morning, she would wake up early to take Max and Whiskers for a walk, their little family moving together through the neighborhood. Max, now confident and proud, trotted ahead, his tail high. Whiskers, of course, always had to run to keep up, her tiny paws scampering as she tried to match Max's long strides. The sight of the two of them together, so full of life, filled Lily with a joy she couldn't quite put into words. Their mornings were peaceful, but it was the evenings when the world slowed down and the air grew cool that felt especially magical. After dinner, the three of them would curl up on the couch. Max would lay his head in Lily's lap, content and relaxed, while Whiskers nestled into the crook of her arm, purring softly as the gentle hum of the television filled the room. Sometimes, if Lily was reading, Max would nudge her hand for attention, a soft reminder that he was always by her side. Each night, as Lily sat in the quiet of her home, the weight of her decision seemed more and more right. She had made the right choice when she chose to fight for Max and Whiskers. They had brought so much love and light into her life, and the thought of what could have happened if she hadn't acted made her heart ache. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle above, Lily sat on the porch with Max lying beside her and Whiskers curled up in her lap. The evening air was warm, and a soft breeze whispered through the trees. The world felt still, as though everything had fallen into place. "You know," Lily whispered, looking down at the two animals beside her, "I never knew my life could be this perfect." Max lifted his head slightly, looking up at her with his soulful eyes, as if to say, "I know." Whiskers, too, stirred in her lap, blinking sleepily as she stretched. Lily gently scratched behind her ears, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for these two beings who had become her family. Life had been unpredictable, but in that moment, Lily understood that sometimes the unexpected was exactly what she needed. She had opened her heart to two creatures who had nothing to give but their loyalty and love, and in return, they had given her everything. Looking at Max and Whiskers, Lily knew that the road ahead would be filled with more surprises, more joy, and yes, more challenges. But as long as they were together, nothing could stand in their way. They were a family now, bound not by blood, but by love, loyalty, and the quiet moments that made life worth living. "Together forever," Lily whispered, and both Max and Whiskers seemed to agree, settling closer to her as the night unfolded peacefully around them. And in that moment, Lily realized that her journey with Max and Whiskers was only just beginning. The best was yet to come.